The Ramstein terminal was quiet, just another morning, just another crowd, until Colonel Damon Briggs stopped in front of an old man in a worn flannel shirt and tore into him like he wasn't human. He mocked his clothes, his age, even his worth, humiliating him in front of soldiers half his age. People watched, frozen, guilty for not stepping in. But the old man didn't defend himself, didn't raise his voice. He just looked up with those pale, exhausted eyes, the kind that have seen battles no one writes about. And when Briggs demanded to know who he used to be, the air changed. The old man leaned forward, breathed once, and whispered a call sign the room hadn't heard spoken aloud in decades. Raven 6. A coffee cup shattered on the floor. 3 veterans stood like they'd seen a ghost. And when the 4-star general walked in, one glance at the old man made him stop cold before he saluted. Not out of courtesy, not out of protocol, but out of fear, respect, and the weight of a legend the world was never supposed to know was still alive. If you're watching this, take a second to comment your respect for the silent heroes we walk past every day. And before we begin, please subscribe, not for me, but for the men and women whose stories were buried so deep the world almost forgot them. Your support keeps their memories alive, and this story deserves to be heard. The morning at Ramstein Air Base should have been ordinary. Quiet chatter, rolling luggage, boots on tile, the distant hum of C-17 engines warming on the flight line. But all of it faded the moment Colonel Damon Briggs stopped in front of seat 14A and spoke like his words were knives meant to wound. "Are you deaf?" he snapped. "Or just lost? Priority seating is for distinguished visitors and active duty on orders, not for drifters." The insult didn't just cut the old man sitting there, it cut the entire room. Conversations died. A young airman froze mid-step, a bottle of water in his hand, suddenly too scared to move. Even the civilians felt the temperature drop. The old man in the worn flannel shirt looked up slowly, his pale eyes tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. The lines on his face weren't from time, they were from weight, heavy weight, the kind only certain wars carve into a person. But he didn't show anger, not even defensiveness, just a quiet exhaustion, like life had already taken more from him than any stranger could. "I'm waiting for a flight," he said softly, a simple sentence, a simple truth. But Briggs laughed like it was a joke. "A flight with what? A museum pass?" The young airman's jaw tightened. He wanted to step in. Everyone could see it, but rank is a cage. And no one outranks a full-bird colonel except a general or God. The old man reached into his pocket with stiff fingers and handed over a laminated ID card. It was aged, edges soft, photo faded. Briggs snatched it without gratitude. "Samuel Hartman, retired." Briggs scoffed, flicking the card like it was trash. "Your retirement doesn't grant you access to priority seating meant for actual warfighters. These people," he gestured broadly, "are the tip of the spear. You're a relic collecting dust." Still, the old man didn't move. That was when the air shifted for the first time. It was subtle, quiet, like the room sensed something was off long before anyone understood why. "I could wait here," the old man murmured. The tone wasn't defiant. It was simple fact. A man who'd spent years following orders, finally choosing one thing for himself. And that was what lit Briggs on fire. He stepped closer, voice dropping into something nastier, sharpened by ego. "Are you questioning my authority? I am the deputy commander of this entire wing. When I tell you to move, you move." A couple nearby soldiers looked away, cheeks burning with secondhand shame. No one stepped in. No one defended the old man. The silence was cowardly, but familiar. People look away when something feels wrong but dangerous. Samuel Hartman pushed himself up. His joints cracked loudly in the quiet terminal. He reached down for his old duffel bag, weathered like something that had followed him to places he never talked about. But Briggs wasn't finished. He leaned in, voice lowered enough to sound personal, but loud enough that everyone heard. "You know, your generation is what's wrong with this country. Thinking the world owes you something for whatever little service you did 50 years ago. Tell me, what did you even do? Fix radios? Cook meals? Something in the old man's face shifted. Not anger, not fear. Something deeper. Pity. That was the second shift in the room. The moment when a few older veterans in the back exchanged glances. When a gray-haired contractor paused mid-page in his newspaper. When the command sergeant major, walking by, slowed, recognizing something he couldn't yet name. "I served," the old man said quietly. It was only 2 words, but the way he said them, so steady, so unbreakable, made even the young airman swallow hard. Briggs heard it as a challenge. "Oh, everyone served. Doesn't make you special. What was your unit? Your role? Come on, old-timer. Give me the heroic tale. What was your call sign?" The room froze. Call signs aren't jokes, not real ones. They're identities carved through fire, loss, and missions that don't reach official reports. The old man slowly looked toward the massive windows facing the runway. The distant hum of the C-17 engines felt heavier, like even they were waiting. He took a breath, a long breath. "The details get hazy," he said softly. Briggs smirked. "Convenient." Then he stepped closer, close enough the old man could feel his breath. "One last time, your call sign." The old man lifted his eyes. The weariness vanished, replaced by a spark, something alive, something dangerous, something ancient, and he whispered it. "Raven 6. The third shift was instant, violent in its silence. The master sergeant at the coffee counter dropped his mug. It shattered across the polished floor, echoing like a gunshot. He stared at the old man with disbelief, lips parting, breath catching in his throat. 3 contractors, older, weathered, lowered their newspapers as if a ghost had walked in. The command sergeant major stopped as if someone had grabbed him by the spine. Raven 6, not a name from museums, not a name from official records, a name spoken only in shadows, a whispered legend from missions no one publicly admits ever happened. Briggs didn't understand any of it. He scoffed, turning to fire off another insult. But he never got the chance, because Master Sergeant O'Reilly, the one who dropped his mug, was already moving. He marched right past the colonel, spine straight as a rifle barrel, and stopped in front of the old man. Then he snapped into the sharpest attention anyone in the room had ever seen, and saluted. The kind of salute you give to a man who once carried nations on his shoulders. "Sir," O'Reilly said, voice catching with emotion. "Master Sergeant O'Reilly, 24th Special Tactics. It is an honor, sir, a profound honor." The entire terminal gasped, but the moment wasn't over, because a new voice thundered from behind them. "Colonel Briggs, what in God's name is happening here?" And when everyone turned, a 4-star general was standing there, and his eyes were fixed on Raven 6. And that was when everything truly changed. The entire terminal went still, frozen in a moment that felt suspended between past and present. General Marcus Hale, commander of U.S. Air Forces in Europe, walked with a purpose that made airmen straighten instinctively. His boots struck the tile with the weight of command, but his eyes weren't on Colonel Briggs. They were locked on the old man standing quietly beside his duffel bag. Briggs opened his mouth to explain, but no sound came out. General Hale brushed past him like he was nothing more than an inconvenience, stopping directly in front of Samuel Hartman. His face, usually carved from stone, softened in a way no one had ever seen. "Sam." The word escaped him like a memory he'd buried too deep to ever expect its return. The old man lifted his chin. A small, tired smile creased his face. "It's been a long time, Marcus." The general's breath trembled, and then something happened that shattered Briggs's world in a single heartbeat. General Hale, 4 stars, a legend in his own right, raised his hand and delivered a salute that carried decades of reverence. A salute filled with gratitude, grief, and awe. Airmen stopped walking. Contractors froze in place. The young airman holding the drop water bottle stared like his entire understanding of rank had been rewritten. And Colonel Briggs felt the bottom drop out of his chest. He had just humiliated a man his own commander treated like royalty. General Hale dropped the salute with visible emotion tightening his jaw. Then he turned, slowly, deliberately, toward Briggs. "What, exactly, were you doing to this man?" His voice was too quiet, That was the danger. Briggs swallowed. Sir, he, he was in restricted seating, and he had no active duty orders. I was enforcing? Hale's eyes sharpened to razors. Or grandstanding. A few people flinched. The general stepped closer until the colonel looked like a child being confronted by a parent whose patience had finally shattered. Do you have any idea who you were speaking to? Hale asked, voice rising. Any idea at all? Briggs tried to steady himself. Sir, he's retired. His ID, that, Hale cut in sharply, is Master Chief Samuel Hartman. Raven 6. The colonel blinked, lost. He looked at the old man again, really looked, and confusion etched itself deeper into his face. Raven 6. Sir, that can't be real. That's just a myth. A low ripple of disbelief swept through the older veterans nearby. One muttered, God help this idiot. Another quietly whispered, they don't teach history anymore. The general actually laughed, short, bitter, and humorless. Myth? Do you think legends appear out of thin air? Do you think entire units tell stories around fire barrels for entertainment? He stepped back toward Sam. This man, Hale said loudly enough for the entire terminal to hear, flew missions your textbooks don't even mention. He flew aircraft with modifications that aren't declassified even today. He pulled men out of valleys no sane pilot entered with a full crew, let alone wounded and alone. A shocked murmur rolled through the crowd. And you, Hale snarled, turning back to Briggs, chose him to humiliate? Him? Briggs's throat locked up. For the first time, fear, not embarrassment, shook him. General Hale straightened and signaled Master Sergeant O'Reilly. Get Chief Hartman to my quarters. Food, clothes, medical check. Whatever he needs, he receives. Yes, sir, O'Reilly said with pride swelling in his chest. It would be an honor. Sam picked up his duffel bag but paused, just for a moment, looking at Briggs. Not with anger, not with triumph, with something far heavier, pity. That look stung worse than any reprimand. O'Reilly guided Sam away, and as they walked, a quiet, respectful applause began somewhere in the back. Not loud, not showy, just honest. Briggs stood alone in the middle of the terminal, stripped of every ounce of confidence he had arrived with. The general waited until Sam had left the room before turning back to him. You have disgraced your uniform, Hale said. You will report to my office at Euro 600, and I promise you, Colonel, your career will be drastically shorter than you expect. Briggs nodded, barely able to form words. Yes. Yes, sir. He left the terminal a ghost of the man who had walked in. Late that evening, in the quiet of the VIP quarters, Sam sat on the edge of a neatly made bed. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant and fresh linens. He wasn't used to comfort anymore. He'd spent too many nights in cheap motels, on buses, in VA waiting rooms where no one knew his name. A knock sounded. He expected O'Reilly or a young airman with food. Not this. Colonel Briggs stood in the doorway, uniform immaculate, cap in hand, shoulders slumped. He looked nothing like the arrogant officer from earlier. Sir, Briggs said quietly, may I come in? Sam studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Briggs stepped inside but remained standing, as if he didn't deserve to sit. Sir, I need to say something. His voice cracked. I have spent my entire career preaching leadership, discipline, respect, and today, in front of everyone, I failed every single one of those standards. He swallowed hard. I was arrogant, cruel, completely blind to the man standing in front of me. You didn't deserve that. No one deserves that. His eyes lifted, red-rimmed, filled with shame. I'm sorry, Chief Hartman. Truly, I am ashamed of myself. Sam didn't respond right away. He rose slowly, the weight of age in his movements, and walked toward the colonel until they were only a foot apart. You know, Sam murmured, men make mistakes, even good ones. The important part isn't the mistake. It's what comes after. Briggs blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. Sam rested a gentle hand on his shoulder. Take this moment, he said softly. Let it change you, make you better. That's all any of us can do. Briggs's composure snapped. A tear slid down his cheek. He stood straighter and rendered a perfect salute. Sam nodded once, slowly, and Briggs lowered his hand before leaving silently. When the door closed, Sam turned toward the window. Outside, Jet slept silently under the lights. The sky was deep, endless, familiar. The same sky he had flown through as Raven 6. The name whispered across continents and battlefields by men who owed their lives to him. He exhaled, years of memories pressing into his chest. He never wanted recognition, never wanted applause. He only wanted the noise of the world to quiet long enough for him to breathe. Tonight, he finally felt seen. And if you felt the weight of this chapter, if you respect men like Sam, then please subscribe. Not for algorithm numbers, not for views, but so these forgotten heroes can continue to have a voice in a world that has too often let them fade away. And stay with me, because what happens next will hit harder than anything so far. Night settled over Ramstan like a heavy cloak, the kind that softened sounds and stretched shadows until everything felt slightly unreal. In the VIP quarters, the lights were dim, and Samuel Hartman sat in a deep armchair near the window, a cup of untouched tea cooling at his side. The quiet was almost sacred, a rare moment of stillness after a day that had torn open memories he'd spent a lifetime stitching shut. But quiet never lasted long for men like him. General Hale entered without ceremony, though his presence was impossible to ignore. He had changed out of his uniform, wearing a simple navy blue pullover, but nothing could hide the command in his posture or the tension in the air around him. "Couldn't sleep?" Sam asked gently. Hale exhaled, rubbing a hand down his face. "I've been trying to wrap my head around the fact that you're sitting here, alive." Sam offered a faint smile. "Death has a poor track record of keeping me." That earned a small laugh, but Hale's eyes held something else. Guilt. "Sam, we looked for you," the general said. "After they reported the crash, after the recovery teams found nothing, after the classified funeral. God, Sam, we looked." "You weren't meant to find me," Sam replied. Hale sat across from him, elbows on his knees. "Who pulled you out? How did you survive the camp? Why didn't you ever reach out? Why vanish?" Sam stared at the window, but he wasn't seeing it. He was seeing fire, metal, screams. Cold nights in a cell so dark he forgot what sunlight felt like. "They kept us underground," he said quietly. 4 years, no light, no sound, no names allowed. "They tried to break us, but they couldn't. A man only breaks when he forgets why he's fighting." "And your reason?" Hale asked. Sam closed his eyes. "To get my men home." That was when Hale realized something. "You're not here by accident, are you?" Sam didn't look away from the window. His reflection, older, thinner, scarred, met his gaze. "No," he said. "I came because I found something." Hale straightened. "Something?" "A pattern," Sam murmured. "Movements, transport logs, personnel shifts. Someone inside the airlift system is diverting supplies. Weapons, hardware. They're using military channels to smuggle crate loads out of Europe." Hale stared. "You're talking about an internal network?" Sam nodded. "And they're using Ramstein as a corridor." The general's jaw tightened. "Do you know how serious that accusation is?" "Yes," Sam said. "Which is why I didn't bring it to anyone but you." For a moment, the room felt smaller, the air heavier. Then Hale stood abruptly. "Come with me." The hallway outside was empty, their footsteps echoing through the polished floors. Hale led Sam into a secured briefing room, shutting the door behind them. The lights hummed as they flickered on, revealing a digital table map of Europe. "What exactly did you find?" Hale asked, locking the door. Sam set his worn duffel bag on the table and unzipped it. Inside were meticulously organized notebooks, printed logs, photos of shipping crates, and hand-sketched diagrams of flight routes. "Most people look at manifests," Sam said. "I look at the gaps." He spread out a manifest sheet with multiple red circles. These crates were logged onto aircraft at Leges Field, then never logged off anywhere. No destination stamps, no receiving signatures. Hale frowned. "Lost paperwork?" "Not 37 times," Sam replied. "Across 4 bases, 4 aircraft types, all within a 3-month window." The general's eyes darkened. He knew what Sam was implying. He just didn't want to believe it. So you followed the paper trail? Hale asked. No, Sam said. I followed the men. He slid forward a photograph of 3 aircrew members, 2 in uniform, 1 in civilian clothing, standing beside an unmarked container. These men aren't part of any documented squadron, but they show up on security cameras at every base where the crates vanished. Hale felt the blood run cold. This is a smuggling ring, he whispered, operating under military cover. Sam didn't blink. Bigger than a ring, Marcus. An operation. And you uncovered all this alone? Hale asked in disbelief. Sam smiled faintly. Old habits. Then the door clicked. Both men looked up. Someone was outside. A shadow moved under the door's gap, then disappeared. Hale immediately reached for the sidearm on his belt, but he wasn't armed. Sam stood, every old reflex coming alive in an instant. Marcus, he whispered, we aren't alone. Before Hale could respond, the room's lights shut off, plunging them into darkness. The red emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows across the table. Hale rushed to the wall panel. The security system's been manually overridden, he said. Someone doesn't want this meeting happening. Someone inside your command, Sam observed. Outside, footsteps approached. 3 sets, heavy, deliberate, synchronized. Not security. Not airmen on routine duty. Operators. Sam grabbed his duffel and dumped it. Among the belongings was an old, matte black survival knife. Hale didn't question why Sam was traveling with it. You get behind the desk, Sam murmured. And you? Hale asked. Sam tightened his grip on the knife. Old man or not, I can still solve problems. The door handle twisted, then stopped. A voice, low, distorted, spoke from the other side. Chief Hartman, General Hale, open the door. Hale whispered, How do they know we're both here? Sam's eyes hardened. They've been watching me since the terminal. The voice spoke again. Open the door and no one gets hurt. Resistance will be met with force. Hale moved closer to Sam. If we open that door, we're dead. Sam nodded. So we don't. The general turned and activated the emergency distress beacon on the panel, but nothing happened. They jammed it, he said. Sam chuckled softly. Good. Means they're scared. Through the door, a second voice muttered, 30 seconds until breach. Hale felt the tension coil in his muscles. Sam, what's your plan? Sam stepped into the center of the room, knife ready, posture shifting. Not like an old man, but like a warrior shaped by decades of battle. Same plan I've always had, he said calmly. Keep the man next to me alive. The doorknob twisted harder. Metal clanked. Boots shuffled. A breaching tool lifted on the other side of the door. But before the strike came, a single gunshot echoed down the hallway. Then another. A body hit the floor outside. Then a voice, strong, confident, urgent, shouted, General Hale! Chief Hartman! It's Master Sergeant O'Reilly! Stand clear! Sam's shoulders relaxed a fraction, but before anyone could reach the door, a second unfamiliar voice rose behind O'Reilly. Drop the weapon, Sergeant! Hale and Sam stared at each other. There were more of them. More than they'd realized. More than either man could fight alone. The hallway erupted into shouting. Then, a single gunshot. Then silence. Sam's knife lowered slightly. He whispered the words he never thought he'd have to say again. Marcus, they found us. And the door lock began turning. The lock clicked once, slow, deliberate, like someone teasing their presence on the other side. Sam lifted the knife again, stance grounded, shoulders squared, the ghost of a warrior rising through his aging frame. General Hale stepped back, ready to grab anything he could use as a weapon, though both men knew Sam was their only true chance if the door opened. Then the hallway went silent, not quiet, silent, the kind of silence where even danger seems to hold its breath. A wet sound, faint but unmistakable, seeped through the cracks of the door. Hale's eyes widened. Sam, is that... Blood, Sam whispered. Suddenly the handle turned. The door pushed open just an inch, and then stopped. A hand appeared on the frame, gloved, unmoving, as if someone had placed it there and forgotten it. Sam took one cautious step forward and nudged the door with his foot. It swung inward. 3 bodies lay sprawled across the hallway tiles. 2 of the hostile operatives, and Master Sergeant O'Reilly, his uniform stained, his service stripes darkened by blood. His last act had been firing the shots that saved them. Hale inhaled sharply. They killed him. They killed one of my best men. Sam crouched beside O'Reilly, closing his eyes with 2 fingers. He didn't die for nothing. Before Hale could respond, movement flickered at the far end of the hallway. A shadow stepped out, slowly, deliberately, as if it had all the time in the world. Sam stood again. The figure walked into the dim emergency light. Black uniform, unmarked gear, a silenced pistol hanging loosely at his side. No insignia, no identification. A ghost hunting another ghost. "You should have stayed dead, Hartman," the man said, voice low, distorted by a throat mic. Sam didn't flinch. "A lot of people have said that. None of them lived long." Hale stepped slightly behind Sam, voice low. "Who is he?" "One of theirs," Sam murmured. "But not the kind sent to kill, the kind sent to clean." The man lifted the pistol, smooth, professional, precise, and the muzzle aligned directly with Sam's chest. Sam moved. The knife flashed once, a silver streak slicing through the dim red glow. A shot thundered. Hale staggered back, bracing against the wall. But Sam didn't fall. The bullet had buried into the doorframe. Because Sam's knife had already struck the man's wrist, forcing the gun off target. The man howled, dropping the pistol, and Sam surged forward, old muscles remembering exactly how to fight, exactly how to kill, exactly how to survive. The man swung at him. Sam blocked. The man drew a backup blade. Sam twisted. In 2 precise movements, Sam disarmed him and slammed him against the wall hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. Hale hurried forward and retrieved the dropped pistol, aiming it with trembling determination. "Don't move," Hale warned. The operative glared at both of them, jaw clenched. "You have no idea what you're interfering with." Sam pressed him harder against the wall. "Then educate me." "You think this ends with me?" the man hissed. "This operation goes higher than generals, higher than commands. It reaches places you can't even imagine. We're inevitable." Sam leaned in, voice cold. "So was I." The man spat blood at Sam's feet. "If you expose this, you'll be signing your own death warrant." Sam smiled faintly. "I've had one of those for 50 years. Hale stepped closer. "You're going to tell us everything. Names, ranks, access points." The operative laughed. "I'd rather die." His hand moved suddenly toward his vest. Sam reacted instantly, grabbing Hale by the collar and yanking him backward just as a small pop echoed from the operative's chest. A flash, a muffled thud. The man collapsed. Smoke hissed from a tiny self-destruct charge sewn into his gear. Hale stared at the body, breath unsteady. "He blew himself up, just to stop us from asking questions." Sam nodded grimly. "Which means we were too close." And then, almost as if fate chose that exact moment, Hale's secured phone buzzed on his hip. He answered, listened, and his expression darkened with every second. Finally, he said only, "Understood," and lowered the phone. "Sam," he said quietly, "satellite intel shows the crates you tracked. The last shipment, it's leaving Ramstein in 90 minutes. If it gets airborne, it'll vanish into friendly airspace. We'll never trace it." Sam tightened his grip on the knife, though his eyes softened with something deeper. Resolve. "Then we don't let it leave." Hale looked at him, really looked, and saw not an old man, not a ghost, but the warrior who had once landed a burning aircraft in the Devil's Jaw to save an entire Green Beret team. "Sam," Hale whispered, "are you sure you're ready for this?" Sam placed a hand on his shoulder. "I didn't come back to live quietly, Marcus. I came back to finish what I started." The 2 men stepped over the bodies moving down the red-lit hallway toward the flight line. 2 shadows walking into a storm, one fueled by vengeance, the other by loyalty. Outside, alarms began to pulse across the base. Someone knew they were coming, someone knew they were close, and someone was willing to kill half a base to stop the truth from reaching daylight. Hale checked the pistol one last time. "Whatever happens next, we do it together." Sam looked toward the bright runway lights ahead, lighting up the night like a battlefield waiting to be claimed. "Together," he agreed. They stepped outside, and the story of the man the world once buried was no longer a secret. And before you go, listen to me. Stories like this, stories that honor the forgotten warriors, the unseen heroes, the ghosts who walk among us, they need a place to live. If you felt something in this journey, if it pulled your heart, your respect, your curiosity, please subscribe. Don't just watch and leave. Be part of this mission with me. It means more than you know. And when you're done, watch the next video on your screen. Trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next.